back in the late 90s when I was probably 19 or 20 years old. I was working at a dry cleaners on a fairly busy road in a nice little town kind of near where I live in Georgia. And I remember sitting there at the counter one day checking in somebody's clothes, and I hear this sound outside, just this loud wah, wah, screaming. And a second later, this red Toyota Supra just came screaming by, one of the loudest cars I'd ever heard. Bop, 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 bop. And I just thought it was just the meanest sounding car in the world, and it had nice rims on it and all that. And that was really the first time I had seen a Supra and what its potential was, and that was probably when I fell in love with the car itself. So anyways, that's what spawned this video, and that's my little story about the first time I really appreciated what the Supra was. Hey, real quick, besides the Supra, let me know what is your favorite 90s sports car. There's quite a few of them out there that are good choices. Drop a comment, let me know, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. All right, thanks. Welcome back, YouTube. My name is Jason. I am the GI Car Guy. I really appreciate you being here, and I do apologize that it's been so long since I've had a video out. I got sick for like 2 weeks, and finally getting over that, finally feeling a lot better, and here we go. But real quick, wanted to say, I'm going to do a giveaway of some sort once I hit 1,000 subscribers, and if you want to be a part of that, do me a favor, take like 3 seconds, just look down, hit that subscribe button for me. It doesn't cost you a thing, and would really help me out a lot, and we'll have some sort of giveaway when we get to that point. So anyways, with that being said, let's get into the video. So the Toyota Supra didn't enter this world as a Supra, but rather as a Toyota Celica in 1971. The Celica was not a monster by any means, but it was a sporty, fun-to-drive import that heavily influenced the sporty subcompact segment of the auto industry. The Celica was originally powered by a 1.6-liter carbureted 4-cylinder producing 90 horsepower. Despite the underwhelming horsepower numbers, the Celica sold well from its first big change for the Celica would take place in 1974, when Toyota would introduce the Celica GT, a new model that brought with it a 2-liter engine. This larger 2-liter engine, consisting of multiple variants, would be the power plant for the Celica for the next 11 years. Fast forward to 1978, and Toyota releases the second-gen Celica. With this new version, Toyota created a top trim model initially dubbed the Celica XX. The XX was dropped for the American market, and the name Celica Supra was created.
I've compared all the new cars but one. Toyota, what do you got?
The Toyota Celica GT Liftback, still the car of the 80s. Aerodynamically designed for better performance, surer stability. The new Celica, it puts the fun of driving back in style.
Toyota, you've got it.
You asked for it. You got it, Toyota.
The Celica Supra, though still carrying the Celica name, was different than its namesake. The Celica Supra was elongated in the front by just over 5 inches to accommodate for its new power plant, either a 2-liter or a 2.6-liter inline 6, making 125 and 140 horsepower respectively. The Supra was created due to a substantial request from North American dealerships to offer a vehicle that would hopefully take market share from the Datsun 280Z.
For 1981, the Toyota Celica Supra gets recharged. Charged with more performance, a new 2.8 fuel-injected engine, an optional performance package, sport suspension, spoilers front and rear. The new 2.8-liter Toyota Celica Supra, recharged for 81.
A Celica never performed like this before. Supra!
1981, the second generation of the Celica Supra was released, and with it came obvious styling redesigns, but also a larger 2.8-liter 6-cylinder that now put down 145 buff horses. 0 to 60 was a slick 9.8 seconds, and a quarter mile in a glorious 17.2. One of the more notable features was the introduction of pop-up headlights, a true fan favorite. I'm sure they always worked and were never glitchy.
You shaped it in your mind. Total performance. Now the all-new Toyota Supra brings it alive. Supra Power, created by a 3-liter 24-valve, 200-horsepower engine. Super suspension, racing type, double wishbone, fully independent. Supra cockpit, where you perform. The new Toyota Supra, performance without compromise. Now the Supra dynasty begins. Who could ask for anything more?
In 1986, after a 5-year run, the third gen was released, but this time Celica and Supra parted ways. The Supra left home, heading out into the world to become his own man, to grow and mature and become the sports car it was destined to be. The Celica stayed behind as the more economical front-wheel drive car, and the Supra maintained its rear-wheel drive configuration. The engine was now a considerably more powerful 3-liter inline-6 that now delivered 200 super sweet horses. 1 year later, the Supra came out with a turbocharged version that produced 232 horses. The exterior of the Mark III Supra really started to take shape as a legitimate sports/touring car during this time and became a platform to showcase Toyota's advances in technology. The 1990 redesign would release a version of the Supra that had a twin turbocharged 2.5-liter inline-6 that put out an impressive 276 horses. The engine was designated the 1JZ GTE.
Is a line. To some, it is seen as a barrier. To others, it's a point where traditions of the past are abandoned in favor of visions of the future. Introducing the revolutionary new Toyota Supra. It's taken everything sports cars were before and crossed the line.
1993 Toyota Supra Premier Edition Twin Turbo. Factory turbocharged 1993 Toyota Supra Premier Edition, powered by a 3-liter twin turbocharged inline-6 engine, made it to a 4-speed automatic transmission.
Now 2 Supras in a row here. The second one is from 1993, and it's a Premier Edition Twin Turbo, one of only 830 built.
The 4th gen, or Mark IV Supra, model designation A80, was unleashed on the world in 1993. With its redesign, Toyota wanted to present a much more capable, performance-oriented sports car, and that they did. The new Supra was sleek and smooth, had a much more planted stance. The new Supra was slightly shorter than its predecessor, however it is 5 inches wider, giving it that aggressive look. All Supras came with their very recognizable 5-spoke alloys, the turbo models in 17s and the non-turbos 16s. The 17-inch rims accommodated the larger brakes that came standard on the turbo models. Other notable features new to the Mark IV were traction control, larger brakes, wheels and tires, an additional turbocharger, and dual airbags. As a side note, the Supra was the first vehicle with a Toyota badge that had a passenger side airbag as standard. Toyota went to great lengths to shed as much weight as possible. Mechanical parts that were typically forged from steel, like suspension arms and oil pans, were now made out of aluminum and other weight-saving materials like magnesium, and in some cases, plastic. When it was all said and done, even with all the previously mentioned new features, the Supra weighed in 200 pounds less than the Mark III, 3,210 to be exact. For perspective, the Supra was heavier than the RX-7 and NSX, though it tied the 300ZX, personally one of my all-time favorites and the first car I ever got to drive, but is lighter than the 3000 GT. That's a pretty iconic list of cars to be in the company of. All of that aside, you absolutely cannot talk about the Supra without talking about the crown jewel under its hood. And that is none other than the 2JZ GTE. An engine that is so legendary, so iconic in the JDM and tuner world, that it's damn near mythical. The 2JZ stands for the family name of the engine. The G means it's a performance-oriented dual overhead cam setup. The T stands for take my money, turbocharged, and the E means it's electronically fuel injected. The non-turbo version is the 2JZ GE, and it puts out about 220 horses. The turbo version boasted 320 horses. With a few upgrades and tuning, the 2JZ could produce just shy of 1 million horses, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Straight out of the box, the GTE version of the 2JZ came with twin turbos and a sequential layout. Without getting too technical about this, essentially at low RPM, the exhaust gases would start powering the first turbo. Then around 3,500 RPM, some of the exhaust gas begins getting routed to the second turbo. This means the first turbo starts spooling up and producing power at low RPM, and then the second turbo kicks in further along the power band. This also means much smoother power delivery and not as much turbo lag. The twin-turbo Supra boasted a 0 to 60 time of 4.6 seconds and a quarter-mile time of 13.1 at 109 miles per hour. Respectable numbers from a stock sports car in the 90s. The Mark IV would eventually come to an end here in the United States in 1998 due to slumping sales for sport coupes and would eventually be discontinued in Japan in 2002. But that's not where the Mark IV story ends. After the Mark IV was discontinued, the performance of the 2JZ began to take hold in the tuning world. You see, the 2JZ is an incredibly well-built and robust block cast out of iron, as well as a steel-forged crank and sturdy internals. Massive power upgrades meant the block could handle the extra power, while also not having to significantly upgrade the internals. It also helped that it had a well-built turbo system. Again, the block and crankshaft making it possible to handle large amounts of boost without breaking down. These and several other aspects of its design are what make the 2JZ a legend. With relatively small investments in parts, the 2JZ can easily reach 1,000 horses. Crazy. Throw even more money at it and mix in upgrades like forged pistons and connecting rods, bigger spinny boys, and a proper tune, and this inline six can be up over 2,000 horses. These numbers are absolutely mind-boggling, but are the reason why the 2JZ engines are so highly sought after to this day, even more so than the incredibly capable RB26 engine out of the Skyline GTR models. Fingers crossed, I'm asking Santa for an R34 for Christmas, FYI. When the Supra was originally released, it fetched a price of roughly $40,000, give or take, depending on the trim level. As of late 2024, it looks like the early model Mark IVs start around $80K, and the later models can go for as high as $160,000 plus. A testament to their desirability, performance, and massive potential. It also helped that the original Fast and Furious showcased the Supra in 2001, the car everyone wanted after seeing that movie. In 2017, Toyota filed a trademark for the Supra, stirring up a lot of interest and speculation about a possible 5th-gen iteration of the car. Debuting in 2019, the GR Supra, GR standing for Gazoo Racing, was received well by organizations in the auto industry, even winning multiple awards. However, with consumers and especially enthusiasts, the Mark V fell short. The new Supra attempted to pay homage to its predecessor with its exterior styling, and while it did sort of have the look of the Mark IV, and by sort of I mean a few ingredients were left out, and it wasn't baked long enough, most critics thought it looked like a rebodied Z4, and it did. Completely coincidentally. Not really. The new Supra was designed in partnership with BMW and not only comes from the same factory, but shares the same platform as well as many of the same parts from the Z4. To make its release even more critical were two major factors. One, the new Supra did not have the iconic 2JZ motor in it. And two, it was only offered in an automatic. A true crime against all that is natural and good in this lost world. The Supra was offered in two different engine options, a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder or a 3-liter turbo inline 6. To be fair, these are punchy engines, especially the 3-liter. The 2-liter pushed out 255 horses, while the 3-liter was putting out 382 fairly sweet ponies. Each would do 0 to 60 in 4.7 and 3.7 seconds respectively. These are numbers that Car and Driver claimed after doing their own acceleration test in 2019. Over half a second faster than the Mark IV when talking about the 3-liter version. As to why the new Supra was only offered as an automatic, weight savings, reliability, and the fact that the automatic had faster shifts. All valid points if you're just the average consumer looking for an edgier Z4, but to the tuners and diehard Supra fans, a really, really big miss. It would be 3 years later for the 23 model year that a 6-speed manual was finally offered, but only for the 6-cylinder engine. As far as I can tell, the Mark V will be discontinued after the 2025 model year. For this last iteration of the Supra, Toyota created a final edition version that will have several key upgrades, including the KW suspension, a race car inspired chassis, and a power increase, bringing the final numbers to 429 horses. This thing is going to be ridiculous once it hits the streets here. Wait, I apologize. This final edition version will only be available in Japan and Europe. Thanks, Toyota. To sum up, Toyota created a legend when the Celica and Supra went separate ways. In fact, they probably had no idea how iconic and sought after the Mark IV would become even after almost 25 years since its discontinuation. This car has had a special place in my heart for almost 26 years, and every time I see one, it makes me think about the red one I saw screaming by, and it definitely takes me back. I will finish by saying this: the Mark IV Supra is a king slayer, and to any challengers that don't take its threat seriously, may just end up humbled on a funny car video one day. Just my opinion. Alright, guys, thanks for sticking around this long. Drop me a comment. Let me know, is the Supra a cool car? Does it hold up? Is it overhyped? I really like this car. Anyways, hit that subscribe button. Again, it really helps me out. Drop a like if you like. And I'll stop rambling now. Stay safe out there, especially this time of year, please. Take care of each other. And catch you in the next one. Peace.
Anybody even listen to this kind of shit anymore? What do you mean? This isn't real music. Hip-hop is dead. Nobody knows how to make real music